So about a week ago, the latest adaptation of Junji Ito's classic horror manga Uzumaki finished airing. And when I first saw the trailer, like an old man weeaboo, I said, Patooey, don't you know manga can't be translated to animation like that? I'm gonna kill myself for writing this, and boy was I wrong. But aside from episode 1, the show still sucked. For some reason, I was expecting the whole thing to just be a slideshow of the manga panels, but with voice acting. And to be fair, that is what episodes 2 through 4 were, just with uh about half the panels omitted. But episode 1 was fantastic. I don't know what I went ahead and took the liberty of rereading the manga and rewatching episodes one and 2. I don't know what I was on the first time I was watching through the show. I think I was just so focused on the subtitles that I didn't pay much attention to the animation, but the animation in episode 1 is absolutely incredible for this show. Like, I can't speak highly enough of it. I think it was definitely the right call to translate this in black and white. For the most part, I'm not going to get into the uh color theory or whatever of this show, but I think it was definitely the right call to do it in black and white and do the colors the way they did. And I felt like they also did a really good job with translating Junji Ito's style, because it's already difficult enough just to replicate someone's style or even something in the ballpark of someone's style. And for animation and like anime, you have to like adjust it or like replicate someone's style and then also adjust it to a way that works well in animation. And I feel like especially in episode 1 they did a good job of designing the art style in a way that adjusts the manga well to animation. Now, as I said earlier, I don't remember if it's still going to be in the video or not, but I rewatched the first 2 episodes of Uzumaki, and the first time I watched it all the way through in the Japanese dub, and because I'm a weeb, and obviously I'm not fluent in Japanese, so I'm not the best like to tell you if it was a good dub or not, but I felt like it was a pretty decent dub from like the vast amounts of anime I've watched. You know, a refined weeaboo like me who's seen a whopping like 10 anime or something like that. I feel like the Japanese voice acting was a little off-putting at times, but overall I thought it was good. Nothing spectacular, but not bad by any means. And then the English voice acting, I watched that through the second time. So the first episode, the English voice acting is so good. It is so just like fitting to the characters and everything. I love the voice acting in episode 1. After that, it kind of goes downhill just a little bit. And by just a little bit, I mean some of it's still pretty good, but a lot of it's just bad. Like the there's one specific clip I'm thinking of where it's I don't want to give away too much, but it's like it's this girl screaming you're a monster, and you can tell they just got like one of the they just got like they must have just got like one of the voice actors' moms to come on there and be like, yeah, so just scream like you're a monster, and and just took the first or second take, and the result was not great to say the least, but it's really funny. It really takes you out of the moment though, to be fair. Or but yeah, and then the animation again after episode 1 went extremely downhill. There were a lot of still images that in some circumstances were just like kind of panned around over. That can work in some cases. I don't want to say that like panning over a still image never works in animation, but it didn't work in most of the circumstances they used them in post episode 1. Like you could tell it was just super rushed after episode 1 and that they just didn't they just like weren't able to put much time into animating those episodes and those different shots. I feel like there were still a few good clips where at the very least the art style still held up in some of them, and in some of them just generally the animation was pretty good too in episodes 2 through 4, but it was still a massive downgrade which everyone noticed. But the real disservice in my infallible opinion is the pacing. The pacing in this show is so bad. People are going to riot against me for this. But even in episode 1, I don't think the pacing was great. In episode 1 it was way better than the rest of the show, but it it's still like it I felt like it needed more time to build up and develop the characters and build suspense, and it just didn't do that. And I can kind of appreciate what they were trying to do because I think one of the things they were trying to do is kind of kind of rearrange some of the events, because in the manga it's told in kind of a episodic manner. So like up until like the last, there are 19 chapters, so up until the last like maybe 5 or so, everything is kind of like its own little short story within the bigger like series of short stories, and then they all kind of come together at the end and like tie back to, the spiral. Which, speaking of spiral, I meant to do this earlier in the video, I forgot. But the Uzumaki means spiral, which is in Japanese, which is why it's the horror manga about spirals. And this is a great place to finally introduce the manga. But yeah, Uzumaki. It's basically Junji Ito's magnum opus. Like, if you know about Junji Ito, which is the manga author of this in the like anime manga space, I guess, he's very well known, and usually, like, if someone knows Junji Ito by name, Uzumaki will be one of the first works that comes to mind when you think of Junji Ito. It's once again his basically his magnum opus. There's also some stuff I feel like that was really good that would have only worked in the anime, that I felt like would have worked really well and fit very well in the anime if they had had more time to round out all the other parts of the anime. But for instance, there is, like in the manga, it's like it doesn't make sense to have any, to like write out what the teacher is talking about in like a text bubble, because that doesn't matter. But when you're watching the anime, it's like you can't just hear nothing if the teacher's lecturing. And so, for instance, there's a clip where I won't give any spoilers or anything, but there's something to do with the main character's hair, and the teacher is lecturing about like DNA strands and how they like bind together. And there are some other clips like that, especially with like what the teacher is lecturing about while stuff is happening, that I feel like is really well done and like really well placed, because it's something that's not significant enough to fit visually into the manga, but because you have that extra auditory element in the anime, it is very suiting. I just wish they could have rounded out the anime as a whole more, on top of having these little elements like this, because well, we got one great once again aside from episode 1. Another anime specific thing they did that I feel like is pretty appropriate and once again kind of anime unique is they kind of had like a little post credit twist ending, and I feel like I personally prefer just the regular Uzumaki ending, but I feel like that was well placed. And once again, if they had been able to put the time and effort they wanted to into episodes 2 through 4, like they did episode 1, then I feel like it would have been a very suitable and like well placed anime original element, which I actually kind of think this anime needed way more episodes than it got, assuming that it would have been, like feasible, which clearly only 4 episodes wasn't feasible, which it sounds like the studio kind of got screwed over, but we'll get to that in a minute. So, Uzumaki, right, is the equivalent of 3 volumes. It's about 650 pages, a little less, on top of like some extra chapters. And it has, a lot of build up and stuff, great art, blah, blah, blah. And the thing I want to point out is this anime adaptation had four, average length, 20 to 30-minute episodes. And that's, pretty typical for an anime. And so I just want to show this to demonstrate why I think this should have more episodes. So I've got 3 manga here, all volume 3, that all have pretty well acclaimed like anime adaptations, pretty faithful, good anime adaptations. So I've got, at least within their respective communities. So Chainsaw Man, Demon Slayer, and Attack on Titan. So by volume 3 of Chainsaw Man, we'll take first. There are 8 episodes, roughly, in the anime version. So 3 volumes of Chainsaw Man translates roughly to 8 episodes of the anime. And then for Demon Slayer, 3 volumes of the manga translates to roughly 13 episodes of the anime. And then for Attack on Titan, 3 volumes, 3 volumes translates to roughly 12 episodes. And these two, it's about 25 chapters, and then this one it's about 13 chapters. So this is almost 1-to-1, chapter to chapter. But the Attack on Titan chapters are longer. They're more like 50 pages each, whereas Demon Slayer and Chainsaw Man are weekly instead of monthly, and so they're more like 20 to 25 pages per chapter. And so, as you can see, none of them none of these examples is below 8 episodes for 3 volumes. And obviously the pacing in terms of like pages to, like, it's not a 1-to-1 ratio from pages to real life timing, because there are, different elements in the story that would move faster in a more like time specific storytelling manner or whatever. Like, there are certain parts of a manga that you would flip through faster because much more was happening more quickly, blah blah blah. But I still think that this manga, specifically Uzumaki, should have been adapted, or should warrant an adaptation in between at least 8 to 12 episodes. I don't think 4 was enough. And I think that it could have still been a really good adaptation, because obviously episode 1 left out a good bit, but was still a great adaptation uh for the first like little portion of the manga. It's just, I think, to get like a fuller version, a fuller adaptation, I think it would deserve at least 8 to 12 episodes. I always thoroughly underestimate how long it takes to record one of these videos. But one of the things I want to talk about is the quality dip. It sounds like the company kind of got screwed over. So if there's this article on Game Rant, and this quote is also in many other places, many other articles about this. I'm not sure where it originally came from, but Game Rant is a good place for the quote. So I'm just gonna run back through these again, because my screen wasn't recording my monitor. So there's this Reddit post. Reddit, obviously the most reliable place to get all your lovely, very reliable information. So this says that the animation studios for episode 1 and episode 2 were different. So Fugaku did episode 1, and Akatsuki did episode 2. And then there's this post that theorizes that episode one was completely redone by Fugaku. And so it shows here in the original teaser trailer back in 2019. It shows these clips, and then in the I believe in the most recent trailer, the which is the final version, or one of the recent trailers, it shows this, and as you can tell, there is a very clear and stark difference between these. So there's, oh, how do I? There we go. There's this one, the original, and then there's this, which is clearly way more detailed, way more in depth. There's a chance that, just to, I guess, play devil's advocate, there's a chance that potentially this one was like a draft and they just needed to get a trailer out, and so they had a lower quality version uh put out just for the trailer and then went back and redid the rest of it. I don't see that being likely, but there's a chance, just to give them benefit of the doubt. But yeah, as you can see, very clear differences between the quality in the original trailer and the final version. So that is the theory of oh yeah, we'll get to this here in a moment. That's the theory that episode 1 was completely redone, which if it was, I'm not complaining, because if it wasn't, then it seems like all 4 episodes would have just been as bad as episodes 2 through 3. So I'm glad we got to get that. And this Redditor right here, uh this is something I wanted to bring up. This Redditor theorizes that someone is to blame. So someone was running some kind of scam or something behind the scenes, like someone's embezzling funds or what have you, and then they were able to like put the money into episode 1 or whatever. Blah 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 blah. And I think that kind of goes along with the quote from Jason DeMarco, once again, executive producer of Uzumaki at Adult Swim. He said, specifically paying attention to his wording here, unfortunately, I can't tell anyone who is to blame. Uh, unfortunately, I can't tell them who to blame it on, but someone is definitely at fault here. So he makes it sound like there's definitely someone who was a naughty, bad individual and decided to do something really screwy that made the show not go so well. And that leads me to believe that this theory right here, that someone was skimming or embezzling funds, blah, 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 that, and this thing that I mentioned a moment ago, uh, pretty first looking episode to make investors happy, had to get a trailer out to keep investors happy, blah, blah, blah. That I think is a very feasible theory. And then there's also this. This is a very old article. I just started watching this show recently. Um, and so I found this article when I looked up this guy because I wanted to see if he was actually that short, if the actor was actually that short. And I didn't figure that out. But don't tell anyone that's why I was looking him up. But anyway, this I really just wanted to take the gist from this. I think it's somewhere. They took a huge risk on this show. I'm not sure exactly what show they're talking about. But it's not like a Game of Thrones spinoff or whatever. Um Basically he's saying that HBO, which obviously isn't Adult Swim, which is the people who made Uzumaki, even though it is on HBO Max. He's basically saying that bigger companies and stuff need to take more risks with shows and like movies and stuff instead of making garbage and proven things that work, like spin-offs and remakes, like like the episode, what's it, 7 through 9 of Star Wars, which those are debatable. But anyway, there's a lot of stuff that it's like just expanding on stuff that was kind of already finished. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's just kind of like expanding on stuff that already should have been finished just because they know it'll make more money. Like for instance, I just mean to just generally within the entertainment industry, there's a lot of that sort of thing. For instance, with sorry, my eyes scratchy. My contacts have been being really weird lately. I don't know if I've been doing something wrong, but my eyes have felt so dry. Anyway, good example uh of, things that should have been over continuing because they can make a profit is the MCU. The MCU for about a decade was building up to this grand finale of Avengers Endgame. And when Avengers Endgame came out, that was supposed to be like roughly the end. Maybe there could be some more like kind of epilogue type stuff, like stuff that could still work. Um, to that was still kind of needed to kind of wrap things up, like continuing Tom Holland's Spider-Man story. Uh, but it wasn't kind of a thing where like there really needs to like be more stuff introduced, and yet here we are. It's getting twice as expansive. Not twice, 10 times as expansive, 30 times as confusing, and it's just like it should have ended like around in game probably for the most part. But it keeps going because it makes money because people want to see that stuff again, I guess. But basically, Peter Dinklage in this article is just saying that there should be more risks taken within the entertainment industry. I'm just rambling at this point. You get the idea. But yeah, I definitely think episode 1 is worth the watch, and even the whole anime to some extent. I would recommend watching the first episode, and then if you like episode 1 and you want to get into the manga, you want to read the manga because it's the fuller, better version, at least currently, then I think it would be wise to watch episode 1, see if you like it, and if you like it, get the manga, and then maybe finish the anime. Yeah, because manga is definitely pretty expensive. Like this copy, this is like I don't know if they still make the individual volumes, but this copy was like $40. So it's definitely not something that's like the easiest to spend money on. Worst case scenario, you go to one of the One Piece websites, if you know what I'm saying. Get that One Piece. Get the treasure, if you know what I'm saying. Anyway, I think the manga is incredible. I'm just gonna go and rate both of these because I don't feel like I really need to talk much about the manga since I've talked about the anime. Um, Manga 9 out of 10. Manga is fantastic. I love the Uzumaki manga. Truly one of the great works of Junji Ito. And then as for the anime, episode 1 was great, but I'm still going to give the anime as a whole a 4 out of 10. I think if it had kept that consistency from episode 1 onward, it would have been a lot better. But yeah, if you enjoyed this, potentially consider subscribing. And I think I have like a Berserk. I still haven't got used to the finger things. But yeah, I have a Berserk video and a Beetlejuice 2 video if you want to go check those out. I also stream sometimes when I have the chance and do gaming videos when I can. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you guys in the next one later. Bye bye. Johnny.